Have you ever looked at a closet, a shelf, a drawer, or a room in your home and thought, why is this so hard? Not just practically hard, not just time-consuming, emotionally hard. Some of the things in that space no longer fit your life. You know they are not serving you. You know they are taking up room, creating stress, quietly draining your energy every time you see them. And yet, when it comes time to let them go, something inside you resists. That resistance is real, and it usually has very little to do with the object itself. Because most clutter is not just physical, it's psychological, it's emotional. It is tied to identity, it is tied to memory, and it's tied to pressure. It's tied to grief, and then often it's tied to versions of yourself that we have not yet fully released. That is what I want to look and talk about today. I call it the ghost in the closet. Many of us are living with this ghost of our former identity, a former season, a former role, a former dream, a former pressure. And that ghost is taking up space in our homes, in our thinking, and in our future. So if you ever wondered why decluttering feels heavier than it should, this may be the real reason. Most people begin decluttering at the level of the visible problem. They see the overflowing closet. They see the crowded storage room. They see the stack of boxes in the corner. They feel overwhelmed. And so they think, I just need to get more organized. I need better bins. I need shelves. I need a system. I need a free Saturday. And yes, practical systems matter, but they're not enough if the internal issue has not been addressed first. Because when you try to declutter without dealing with the psychologically underneath it, you are only treating the symptom, not the root. And that is why people can spend hours cleaning, sorting, moving things around, even donating a few things, a few bags, and they still feel like nothing has really changed. Because if the identity remains untouched, the clutter often then comes back. You're not just sorting objects, you're sorting meaning. You're sorting who you are, who you were, who you hope to be, and who you felt expected to become, when you may still be trying to prove yourself to be. If that is what's sitting underneath the object, then this is no longer just a cleaning task. It's an inner work going on in here. One of the heaviest categories of clutter is what I call aspirational clutter. This is the stuff we keep because it represents a life, a role, or a version of ourselves that feels important in our imagination. It may be the expansive fitness gear for the version of you who's going to become completely disciplined. And it may be the untouched art supplies, for the creative version of you who's finally going to have time. It may be the business clothes for a former career. The entertaining pieces for the perfect host identity. The books for the version of you who is going to read all of them. The materials, hobbies you no longer enjoy. The items that say, this is the person I should be. Aspirational clutter is powerful because it does not just represent stuff. It represents a story. And sometimes the reason we keep the object is because we are afraid of what it means to let the story go. Because if I release this, am I admitting that chapter's over? If I donate this, am I acknowledging I've changed? And if I let this go, am I losing part of who I thought I was supposed to be? That is why decluttering can feel like grief, because sometimes it actually is grief. Not grief over the object, grief over the self-image attached to it. And if we do not name that, we end up being hard on ourselves. We say, why am I so bad at this? Why can't I just get rid of things? Why is this so emotional? But the better question is this: what identity am I protecting here? That question changes everything. Sometimes the home is not just filled with possessions, it's filled with unfinished emotional negotiations. The dress from a different body, the paperwork from an abandoned idea, the decor from a life phase that no longer fits, the boxes from a move that happened emotionally but not physically. The tools from a project you never actually wanted, but you thought you should want. You know, the keepsakes that you're afraid to touch because they hold more than memory. They hold expectation. And this is where the ghost in the closet lives. Not in the supernatural ghost, but in the emotional residue of old identities. The younger you, the stronger you, the busier you, the more successful you, the married you, the family-centered you, the ambitious you, the image-conscious you, the version of you who needed those things in order to feel secure, admired, prepared, or enough. And here's the part that matters. If your home is still holding space for identities you no longer live in, then it becomes harder for you to present life, to breathe. You end up crowded, not just physically, but mentally. Every object becomes a quiet question. Should I still be this person? Am I failing because I am not living this version of life anymore? Do I need to keep this just in case I become that version again? This is exhausting. And that is why the conversation around downsizing, simplifying, or decluttering has to go deeper than just storage. Because this is not just about making a room look nicer. This is about making room for the life you are actually living right now. And then there is another layer here, and it's actually an important layer. Many people tie self-worth to what they own. So not always consciously, but deeply. Possessions can become evidence that we mattered, evidence that we succeeded, evidence that we belonged, evidence that we were talented, stylish, intelligent, productive, capable, or even admired. This is especially true if we have gone through transition, losses, disappointments, or changes we did not fully process. Sometimes we keep things because they reassure us. They whisper, you were somebody. You had something. You mattered. You were on your way. You were becoming something much better. And so the object stops being practical and starts becoming symbolic. Yeah, but the danger is this. When your worth becomes attached to your possessions, it becomes very difficult to part with them, even when they're clearly no longer serving your life. Because then it feels like you are not just releasing a shirt, a file, a tool, a collection, or a keepsake. It feels like you're releasing proof, and that feels really scary. But your value does not live in your stuff. Your dignity is not stored in your boxes. Your identity does not depend on whether you still own reminders of who you once were. You do not need to keep everything to honor your story. This is a powerful shift, because once you begin separating self-worth from possessions, you stop asking, what if I need this to prove something? And you start asking, what supports my real life right now? That is a much freer question. So, before touching a single box, I think there needs to be a mental audit. Not just what do I have, but what do I have? But why do I have it? Not just where should this go, but what role is this playing in my mind? So here's a few questions worth asking. Does this item serve my current life, or does it serve an old identity? Am I keeping this out of use or out of guilt? Does this support who I am becoming, or does it only support who I used to be? If I let this go, what story I am afraid I am losing? Am I holding this because it is meaningful, or because I do not know who I am without it? Will I choose this again for the life I now live? These are not surface level questions, but that is exactly the point. Because lasting freedom does not come from speed, it comes from honesty. When you're honest about the emotional role an object is playing, you become more capable of making a clear decision. And that is the beginning of the internal transformation. Then the physical decluttering is no longer random. It becomes aligned. It becomes intentional. It reflects a change that already started. inside of you. So one of our biggest mindset shifts in downsizing or simplifying could be put like this. Stop making the whole process about loss, because that is where many people get stuck. They stare at what is leaving, the item, the memory, the money spent, the unused possibility, the image attached to it. And all of their attention goes to what is disappearing. But a more powerful question I put to you is this: what am I regaining? What mental space am I regaining? What calm am I regaining? What clarity am I regaining? What energy am I regaining? What time am I regaining? What future am I making room for? Yeah, because every object takes up more than physical space. It takes up visual space, mental space, decision space, emotional space. And when your environment is overloaded, your nervous system feels it. You may not name it every day, but your body knows, your mind knows, and your energy for sure knows. So instead of asking only what am I giving up, let's ask what am I making possible? Maybe you're making room for peace. Maybe you are making room for a calmer home. Maybe you're making room for a healthier routine. Maybe you're making room for a smaller, more intentional, more affordable lifestyle. Maybe you're making room for your actual 2026 goals instead of carrying that pressure of unfinished identities from older seasons. That is not loss. That's movement. That is freedom. So, this is why I believe downsizing done properly is not just about getting rid of stuff. It's identity work. Yeah, it's emotional work. It's work. It's psychological work. It's values work. And it's asking all these questions. Who am I now? What matters now? What kind of life am I actually trying to build? And then what version of freedom do I really want? Because once you know the answer to these questions, your decisions become so much clearer. And then space is no longer just empty. It becomes intentional. And then letting go. It's no longer just subtraction. It becomes alignment with your goals. Then your home is no longer a museum of old expectations. It becomes support for the life you are choosing right now. And that is the shift. Yeah, not perfection. Not minimalism. Not a trendy before and after, but it's a real reset. So if this video resonates with you in some way, you know that what you're carrying is not just clutter, but emotional weight, identity, pressure, and unfinished eternal internal noise. And this is exactly why we created the Freedom Reset System. The Freedom Reset System is not just another decluttering checklist. It is a guided step-by-step journey designed to help you move from overwhelm into clarity, peace, freedom, and independence. It walks through 6 core phases. Phase 1, the emotional reset, because freedom starts inside. Phase 2, physical reset, because your body and your environment affect each other. Phase 3, identity reset, because you cannot build a freer life while still serving old versions of yourself. Phase 4, because your home should support you, not press in on you. Phase 5, freedom reset, because simplicity is not just deprivation, it's breathing room. And then phase 6, independence reset, because the goal is not just less stuff, but a stronger, calmer, more intentional life. There are 18 modules designed to be short, practical, and easy to move through at your own pace. So if you are tired of surface level advice and you are ready for something deeper, something more structured, and something that actually helps you reset from the inside out, then go check out the Freedom Reset System. The link is in the description and it's on our website. This is for the person who wants more than a cleaner shelf. This is for the person who wants a clearer mind, a lighter life, a calmer home, a more intentional future. You do not need more pressure. You just need a reset. And that's exactly what this system is here to help you build. If this video helped you, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who is not just dealing with clutter, but they're carrying the weight of old identities. Because sometimes the ghost in the closet is not the mess. It's the version of you that you no longer need to keep proving. And when you let that go, freedom gets a little bit closer.